Hi everybody! Today I'm going to talk about some bow mechanics and what we need to do with the bow to help our playing and improve our sound and to make things way more comfortable and have a lot more ease in our playing. So let's talk about the bow a little bit. Well, down here is where we're interested. We have a button where we loosen and tighten the bow, and then we have the frog over here, we have the stick, and we have the thumb leather and the wrapping. That's basically what we're going to be interested in when we're talking about our bow hold. So the first thing to think about is, where does our pinky go? And where does our hand hold the bow? I'll tell you, my thinking about this is perhaps a little bit different than some people, but really not. But my main thing is that I want to have control of the bow, and I want to have enough power to make my sound the way that I need it to be. So I think a lot about sports when I'm playing, and I think about tennis. So if I was holding a tennis racket down at the bottom, I can get a lot of power maybe, but I lose control. So when you're a beginner tennis player, usually what happens is they ask you to what we call choke up on the racket, which means to hold the racket not at the end, but a little bit up here, maybe an inch, maybe even 2 inches, because that means that the length of the racket is smaller or shorter, and that means that we can have more control of the head of the racket. And I feel the same way about the bow. I'm interested in power, but more than the power, I'm interested in my control of the bow. Because if we have a lot of control of the bow, we can play it much easier, and with a tiny, tiny loss of power, my control will make up for that in many, many ways. So I tend, instead of my thumb to be where the frog meets the stick, I tend to put my thumb on the thumb leather itself. So about right here. So the thumb leather here is about 1 inch, and I go about 1/4 of an inch on the thumb leather. And it takes a little bit of getting used to, because a lot of people will tell us to put our thumb right here, but I'm going to move it up a little bit this way. And that gives me a little bit of a choking up feeling, or a little bit of a feel of having kind of a shorter bow, and a shorter bow will give me more control. So I like that. So the next thing I think about is, where should I put my thumb? Well, I have 2 parts of the bow. I have the inside part, which is over here, which is facing me. And I have the outside of the bow, which is facing my audience, or you. So I'm going to keep my thumb on the inside of the bow, over here. So one thing that I see a lot of people doing that is not really the best idea is to have the thumb that sticks out on the other side of the bow. But what this does is it makes it so that the thumb is really just holding the bow like this, but it doesn't have flexibility because the thumb's going to be flat. Now, in order to have flexibility, our fingers need to be moving. So they need to be rounded. So when we put the thumb on the stick, people always tell us, bent thumb, bent thumb. Well, a bent thumb all the way isn't good, because that means it's tight, and a not bent thumb at all isn't good, because that's tight. So anywhere in between is okay. My thumb usually looks about like this. So you can see a little bit of a curve. You can see this Band-Aid here. I got a little blister doing outside work, but you can see that's bent enough. And if I want to bend it more, I can bend it back and forth. And so I need that flexibility. So I put the thumb in between the fingernail and my skin right here on the leather, just like this, and I let it rest there. So it's kind of like a little hook. My thumb makes a hook like this, and the bow can just sit right on top of it, like so. Now to start my bow hold, I put all 4 fingers together right across from the thumb. Now let's talk about which fingers go together here. Some people think differently, but basically everything's really the same, so hear me out. These 2 fingers and the thumb create what I call my driving engine. And what I do is I'll put them together like this. So my thumb basically is going to go in between these 2 fingers on that first joint right here. So I have joints 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go in the first joint with my thumb, just like that. So we can practice doing that. And you can even hold a pencil like that to help you. Then I put my thumb on the thumb leather on the inside of the bow, on my side of the bow, just like that. And I put these two fingers across from it. And that's my basic hold right there. So that's where my strength lies. I call it the engine because really that creates strength. When I put pressure up with my thumb, it goes against those two fingers, and that creates my balance over here with the bow. Then I put my other two fingers right next to that with my pinky actually over the stick. So all my fingers are touching the bow like this, and you notice they're wrapped around and they're totally rounded. My next step is to pick up my pinky and tap 3 times on the top of the bow like this. And that helps me figure out where to put the pinky. Again, my thumb's on the inside over here. These two fingers are wrapped around. My pinky, I want the pinky to sit kind of right near my fingernail over here. And I almost put it in between my nails and my skin over there on my side of the bow, the inside of the bow, over here towards me. So I have my thumb on the inside that's slightly rounded. I have my fingers over here wrapped around. They're very rounded. I put my fingers there. I pick up my pinky and tap 3 times. And I put it on the inside of the bow. So you can see where it is over here, that there's a lot of bow showing on this side because my pinky's on the inside. And this helps me to counterbalance the bow. And all I have left is my first finger over here. So I'm just going to slide it out until the bow feels on my first joint right there. So right now when I wrap it around, it's under that. It's on my second joint. And I just pull it out until it touches my first joint. And that's going to nice and conveniently be on the winding over there. And that right there is what I consider a very, very good bow hold. You can see it over here. All the fingers are angled. You can see it over here that it's nice and flat there and very relaxed. If I put on my shoulder over there, that's a good idea when you practice this. You can put on your shoulder and really feel it. If you look over here, you can see the rounded fingers. I like to always look and make sure my pinky is rounded over there. And that basically is what I consider my ultimate bow hold, like that. Now I want to check if I have flexibility so I can move my fingers around like this because they're all rounded. That's kind of the collé stroke. It's hard to do. I've got videos about that. I'm sure I'll make more very, very soon since I'm talking about it. And let me tell you some exercises to do. Once you're holding the bow like that, we can do these circles. I'm going to step away here and I'm going to show you the tip. And I'm going to draw circles with the tip like this, only using my fingers. So you can see I'm drawing these circles. And if I go closer, you can see how my fingers are helping the bow make circles. I can do things like windshield wipers where the bow's horizontal. I go to vertical, to horizontal, to vertical. Now under. It's interesting to do this because when I do this, I feel that it's leaning on my first finger. And as I go, I can feel the bow kind of transfer the power through the fingers. And now it's over on this finger. A good exercise once you become pretty good at this is to lift up each finger when you're horizontal like this and make sure that you can balance between the thumb and the pinky. If not, we need to redo things here. Okay? So basically, what we're looking for is a point of balance with our bow that gives us a whole bunch of control without effort. And that way of holding the bow for me works the best to keep that going. So let me just show you what it looks like if I bow a little bit like this. Let me get my viola. You can see all the flexibility and how easy it is for me to do that. And that's really, really, really important. So I hope this video helped you. It's just kind of a good way of thinking of the bow mechanics and the way that we hold it. So I'm going to just go through it one more time to recap. And then after that, you get on to practicing, and happy practicing. So, bow, thumb on the thumb leather, 2 fingers across, Both fingers next to it, pinky tapping. First finger moves, sliding until it gets locked in that first joint over here. Thumb is still rounded. There's my bow hold. Okay, until I see you next time, again, happy practicing.